Well, hello, guys. This is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl. How are you guys doing tonight? I hope you're having a fantastic evening so far. I'm so glad to be back with you. I missed you guys last week, but everybody was so kind and sweet to send me messages while I was not feeling very well. But I'm so glad to be back with you all. And I see that Debbie is here in the chat. Hello, Debbie. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Debbie is going to be having a live sale on Thursday at 5 o'clock p.m. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be lots of fun. And of course, I'll be joining her. And Daniel is here from Tacky As Me. Man, Daniel is so fun to watch. So definitely go check out Daniel's channel if you haven't gotten a chance. Tacky As Me here on YouTube. And he is phenomenally cool. And then Linda Punky is here. Hello, Linda. Welcome. And Tia Fain joining us from Canada. Hi, Tia Fain. Welcome, welcome. And Rebecca Higgins. Hello. We're so glad you are here, Louie and I. And today I am wearing this brooch that was my grandmother's. It is a little, I don't know if it's like a swallow or a little dove, but then it's got the little nest and the little eggs inside. Maybe a robin, I'm not sure, but I love this brooch, so it's very fun. And I see Chicago Lady is here. Hi, Jeannie. Welcome to the chat. So glad you are here. Hello, Patty. Welcome, welcome. Lots of great folks in the chat. So good to see all of you. And I see Kay is joining us. Kay, you're a new name to me, and welcome to the Vintage and Vinyl chat. I'm glad you're here. Oh, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. This is a very fun hat. I like the little bow tie on the side and the feather, and I thought it would be fun to wear with the blue and have a nice contrast. I do have a navy blue hat, but I was feeling this hat today. And I see Katie Tiafane says, Katie, what is your favorite type of brooches? Well, I love the fun brooches, you know, that are an animal or a design, because I think that's kind of fun. But my very favorite are the prong set brooches. There's several brands that I really like that are just such good quality. And I think they're beautiful. Those sparkly ones that don't really have a design. They're just flashy and fun. Those are my very favorite because I just think they're so neat to wear. And they're definitely a statement piece. And there's several brands that I really think are just such good quality. Hi, Dana. Welcome to the chat. I'm glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. Stephanie's joining us. Hello, Stephanie. Welcome. And the other Jeannie is in the chat. Norma Jean +1. Jeannie just went and visited Fatbird Finds, and she got to go to Mama Lehman's, and she went to the shed. So I'm pretty jealous of that because that seems like an amazing trip. So I hope you had fun there, Jeannie. And Diana K is joining us. I love your little junk in the trunk logo. I know Angela Marksberry did that for you. And I love the glow because it's really fun. It's like uranium glass. So that's great. Yes, Daniel, I agree. That's right. The bigger and tackier, the better is my saying. Exactly. Go home, go big or go home. You know, just be flashy and be fun. And I always really like that. Hi, Pamela 13. I'm glad you're joining us tonight. Lots of folks in the chat. So we are continuing the read of the 1950s gold medal book called House of Flesh by Bruno Fisher. Now, gold medal books are special because they changed the publishing industry. So publishing was changed when gold medal started doing books because they allowed writers to not have to pay a fee. It was just based on not on how many copies they sold, but they could just get money as opposed to a fee. So it definitely changed the publishing industry. And I talked more about that in the very first reading I did of these gold medal books when I did the first chapter of House of Flesh. But it's really a cool history if you want to read up on gold medal. It's great. And I think that it is such a cool book series to have. And they made hundreds of titles of these saucy novels. So there's a lot to collect and read. And it's really fun. And this is a first edition from the 1950s of the gold medal books. And I think that this is very fun. And this is number 123. And I love, love, love this book so far. I've been having fun reading it because this one's really saucy. Katie and her camera was fairly saucy, but this is like a whole new level of saucy. Dana says, yes, trash-tastic, as Michael says. I totally agree, Dana. I really do agree. Hi, the Eclectic Thrifter, Catherine. Now, Catherine at the Eclectic Thrifter, formerly known as Lady Hack Mom, did a really fabulous video on her channel. In my honor, she tried a Jell-O recipe that was her mother's, and it was really fun to watch. So if you've not seen that, highly recommend go checking that out and subscribing to her channel. Any of my moderators can put her link in. That would be wonderful. And this week, speaking of Jell-O, I am back with the fun Jell-O recipes. So there's lots of fun Jell-O that I will be trying in the future. But this week, we are trying a kidney bean and Jell-O salad from Knox Jell-O Recipes. The book was given to me by Joni at Vintagerous Vintage Glass and China. So I'm excited to try this. Now, here's what I'm doing that's special. This Wednesday, I'll be going live in the morning, and I will be cooking along with you. So we will have a live cook along, and then on my Wednesday night live, I'll be trying the Jell-O live with you on camera. So you're getting 2 lives of this pretty awful Jell-O. Well, I can't say that it's awful because I haven't tried it yet. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but it has onions and peppers and kidney beans and Jell-O. It just doesn't look very good. So we're going to be trying that. Oh, yes. Yep. Yikes. That's so true. So we'll be doing that this Wednesday. I believe I'll be going live at about 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Jell-O try-along, for the Jell-O cook-along, and then the trying will be at my regular time at 9:30 Eastern Wednesday evening. So yes, that's going to be fun. Yes, in Jell-O, I know, right? Kidney beans and Jell-O, but yes, it will be kidney beans and Jell-O with a whole slew of other things. Oh, and it also has a salad dressing. So it's not Miracle Whip, but it does have French dressing, which just sounds awful in Jell-O. I can't believe it. So this will be fun to try. It really will be. Jeannie says, where you one of those who pretend to be asleep and read trashy novels with a flashlight when you were young? No, Jeannie, I never did that. This is the first time I'm reading true trashy novels. I really got attracted to these on Misty's live sale because if you don't know, Misty at Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter has a bunch of these books, and she's the one that sold me these this House of Flesh book and then a few other gold medal books. And I was really intrigued because I have to know what's in these. I mean, you know, they're from the 50s. So the whole idea of trashy and saucy in the 50s just doesn't seem like something that we think of when we think 1950s. But there, in fact, was quite a bit of things going on in the 50s that were very scandalous and very trashy. And you can read about that. There's a whole nother subsect of 50s culture that's really wild if you want to take a deep dive into that. But when I saw these, I had to have them, and I had to see what was inside because I'm just curious, and it seemed so fascinating. Mine had shrimp and orange Jell-O. I know. Oh, it's so weird. And oh my God, Katie, I want to hurl already. I don't blame you, Daniel. I don't blame you. Hi, Vinny. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, I'm doing better, and I'm thrilled to be back. I really missed all of you guys. Hi, Katie, says Kim. Well, hello, Kim and Oh My Vintage. And Kim has live sales on Tuesday, I believe at 6:00 p.m. Eastern. So that's really exciting. So you go check that out. And Vinny, who's just joined the chat, has live sales on Saturday. Time, I believe, Vinny, you can let me know, but it's between like 5 and 6, correct? So Vinny's going to have, I believe, a sale this week, which I'm excited about. If I'm wrong, let me know, Vinny, but that's going to be fun. So lots of great stuff coming up. Now, before we get into the reading, a few things I want to mention going on for the evening is George the Antique Nomad is having his premiere at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time tonight, which is very, very exciting. That's 8 p.m. Then over the years, Tim and his wife, Josie, are having a live sale at 8:00 p.m. Eastern. So lots of things at 8 tonight. And then, of course, the Vintage Rescue Squad will be on Misty's channel tonight, Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter, at 8:00 p.m. Eastern with Dee from Thrill of the Thrift, the one and only Michael Todd from the Cult of Vintage, and thrift you girls. So lots of stuff happening all at once tonight. I might try to do some split screens because I don't want to miss a minute of it. It seems so exciting. And Louie's over there going bananas. Oh, Vinny's saying sale next weekend. Okay, got you, Vinny. That's exciting. That's going to be lots of fun. So, guys, are you ready to read chapter 3 of House of Flesh? Now, let me tell you, I don't read in advance, except for a few minutes before the live when I read through to do a little practice run of the book. So I don't know until the day of what's happening. I don't read ahead. So I am learning everything as you guys are learning. And let me tell you, this week is very saucy for the 50s. So this is going to be lots of fun. No, Sonia, you're just right on time. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting started into chapter 3. And Louie is over there just having a good old time with her toys, being very loud. Catherine's saying, though not a trashy book, I found the first edition of Dr. Zhivago for $4 on Saturday. Wow, that's really awesome. That's amazing, Catherine. First edition books are fun to find. Okay, guys, so are you ready for chapter 3 of House of Flesh? We're going to jump into it right now. House of Flesh, chapter 3. The business section of North Set consisted of Wellman's General Store, the post office as part of it, and the gas station across the road. Normally, I walked 3/4 of a mile for the mail and supplies, but by 11 o'clock the sun was fierce, so I drove. Mr. Wellman was sweeping the long, old-fashioned store porch. He was a thin, dour man, but when I ascended to the broad steps, he said with a startling friendliness, "Morning, Mr. Wilde." I said good morning and went inside. Mrs. Wellman, fat as her husband was thin, banned me from the counter where she was waiting at a couple of kids. "How are you, Mr. Wilde?" I said I was fine and turned left to the post office window. Polly Wellman was sorting mail. I watched her through the grill. She was very pleasant to watch. Comely was the word for her, without implication of milk-fed buxmanness. She was slimly and tightly put together, and I doubted she was no more than 20. While she was exactly scandalizing, I found her restful company the 2 times I had taken her out. "Oh, hello, Harry." She had turned suddenly to see me watch her, and she blushed. At the moment, I approved of the girls who blushed. I couldn't imagine anything being said or done to make a gal blush. Polly brought my mail and the New York Times to the window. "Harry," she said, "are you busy tonight?" "Well, I'm never busy. Would you like to come to dinner then?" I'd been a bachelor with a fair income too long not to be perpetually on guard. It was a condition unmarried girls and their parents inevitably sought to abolish. Currently, I was one again, and I recalled how her father, who had never before cracked a smile, had so cordially greeted me a couple of minutes before, and how her mother had beamed at me. The jaws of the trap were opening. The young man, after 2 dates with a daughter, was being invited for a meal. "I'm on a special diet training," I lied. "I have to prepare my own meals." "Well, tell me what you eat and I'll cook it." "Oh, it's too complicated." That didn't seem adequate enough of an excuse, so I compromised. "But I suppose I come around this evening and take you out." She accepted that with an open-mouthed smile. Her lips were soft and fluttery. I had tasted them twice, briefly. 8 o'clock, she said. I moved over the counter and gave Mrs. Wellman my order, which consisted primarily of dog food. Mrs. Wellman didn't stop beaming at me. When I left, I wasn't sure if I should have made any date with Polly at all. Outside in front of the store, a strange woman was stroking Max. I hadn't brought him with me. He must have followed my car. He lay on his back, his stiff legs in the air, and his stubby tail growing and looking of ecstasy on his face at the crouching woman rubbing his gray-white belly. "Evidently, you like dogs," I said. Black eyes tilted up at me. Nothing at all happened to her face. I didn't think it was a very pretty face, but it was a face I could look at a long time. It remained expressionless. She straightened up and in low-heeled shoes came in to my chin. "Your dog?" she said, with a peculiar lack of interest, considering she had asked a question. "Yes, Max righted himself." "Max," I said, "I'd like you to introduce you to Miss Doane," she said, as if she didn't care whether I knew or not. She glanced down at the dog, and then she smiled, a little so that it was scarcely a flicker. Max, she muttered in a delayed echo, and turned and walked across the road. She wore a flattering skirt, a man's loose summer shirt, so that I could get no idea of her figure. Her bare legs, though, were very good. Her black hair was gathered into a severe bun. I wondered why I gave a damn about her figure and why I had maneuvered to learn her name. Dawn, where had I heard that recently? On the porch door, Mr. Wellman was leaning on the broom, watching Mrs. Dawn getting into a battered station wagon across the road. And from the window in the post office part of the store, Polly was looking out her window too, with a kind of stiff-face intensity. Then I remembered her name, Nature Boy, Gail's companion at the swimming pool. Is she related to Dr. Doan? I asked Mr. Wellman. Wife. He removed his pipe. The latest one. The thin face became more dour as usual. Anyway, she claims she's his wife. Questions rose in my mind, but I didn't ask them. I didn't want to show special interest while Polly was at the window. But the interest was there. The station wagon crossed the road diagonally and passed within a few feet of me. She didn't as much glance at me. I waved goodbye to Polly and got into my car and held the door open for Max to join me. At 8 that evening, Polly was waiting for me at the dark store porch. She didn't care for my suggestion that we drive to Fort Able, where we could take in the movies or dance at a juke joint. It's a lovely night, and there's a moon, she said. Let's walk. I parked the car and we strolled along the back top road. A breeze cut the heat. She looked trimly sweet in a snug cotton dress, and I felt her breast soft, firm as she hugged my arm. That flashy girl's a friend of yours caused a whole lot of commotion yesterday, she said. Well, that's no girlfriend. That's my ex-wife. And I told her just enough about Gail to get the facts straight. Polly seemed relieved. That was a bad sign. I liked her, but not that much. They're still talking about her bathing shoot, she said, and how she carried on in public with Kenneth Doan. Is there anything you don't hear? Well, everyone comes into Daddy's store and hangs around to gossip. She put her head back to give me a half smile. I noticed the way you were smitten by Mrs. Doan this morning. Me, I said, more or less astonished. I saw her for only a minute. Well, what do you think of her? In a minute, she's not particularly attractive and less friendly than most people in a small town. She's a queer one, Polly said, looking down at the ground. They both are. Queer in what way? Let's not talk about anybody else. I was willing. We turned up a narrower road, and as we walked, my arm slipped as if by itself about her waist. At night, I wasn't sure where we were, but it didn't matter. She was talking to me. We left the second road for a broad footpath through the meadows, and there we were at the bank of the creek, much narrower here than further down the stream at the pool. There were flat rocks on which to sit. We sat on one with my arm still around her. Moonlight glinted in her light brown hair loose on her shoulders. Her face was small-boned and small-featured and very pretty. Kissing her was the most natural thing in the world. It was like either of the two goodnight kisses. Our bodies clung as well as our mouths. Polly stroked my cheek and muttered, "Oh, honey," and our hands and mouths kept seeking each other. In the moonlight, her skin had the translucent sheen of alabaster. She was compactly put together, with the tips of her perfectly rounded breast impudently up-tilted. "Honey," she said hoarsely, "let's go to your bungalow." For a moment, I was very still. "Don't be silly," I said. "Why not?" The skin over her cheekbones was taut with what she had stopped trying to control. Her body asserted itself, imposed itself. "You like me, don't you?" Well, it wasn't that simple. A man had to retain a certain amount of perspective. She was too young and probably too innocent. She was the local storekeeper's daughter, and she would demand too much in return. "Why not?" she said again, hugging my hand to the tingly softness of her. "It will be so cozy there. We might be seen from the Hickey house. We can slip in. No. I snatched my hand from her and stood up and lit a cigarette and watched the moonbeams dancing in the creek. I couldn't trust myself to go near her anyway, not for a while. A bed in a bungalow wasn't required. Here on the grassy bank of the creek would do, and it wouldn't happen if I touched her again. I had no right staring at it. I could tell myself that I wouldn't have if Gail had come to Norsat the other day, and if Conrad Hickey hadn't let me see that pastel of Gail this morning, and if for several months now I hadn't been so lonely in bed. But whatever the reason, it was no excuse. Some distance behind me, Polly was quiet. I had a sense of her waiting there on that rock. I thought, well, why not? But I knew damn well why not. Gail, maybe if someone had started again, or a woman like Miss Dawn, who— I flung my cigarette from me. It hit the water, died, and floated. Why the devil had Miss Dawn entered my mind? A woman I had seen for only a minute and who wasn't especially pretty. I lit a fresh cigarette. Polly spoke suddenly. I hope, Harry, you didn't misunderstand, she said stiffly. I didn't mean at all what you thought I meant by suggesting we go to your bungalow. I turned to her. She sat rather primly, with her legs straight down and her skirt over her knees. I didn't think of anything, I said. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Of course, I'm not that kind of girl. She was that kind of girl who would use a cliché when she had been turned down. No, I hadn't turned her down. I had avoided committing myself because she was marriageable, and her father had been unusually cordial, and her mother had beamed at me because her quite desirable body was a bait trap. We left the brook. We had been gone for only an hour, but we started back to her house. Though her hand was again on my arm, it was there lightly. I couldn't feel her breast as we strolled, or her shoulder, or her hip. What I had done was best for her, and of course for me, but you can't sidestep a girl's passion and expect her to be grateful. We were back on the pale strip of the blacktop road when someone approached us. At a distance 100 feet, his bulk and his close-cropped blonde hair made him clearly recognizable. Gail's nature boy, Mrs. Don's husband. Like myself, he wore a t-shirt, but my chest would never fill out one the way his did. Polly and he exchanged nods when we were close enough. He ignored me. Maybe in that vague light he didn't recognize me as a man who had brought Gail to Twin Rock yesterday. Well, that's Mrs. Don's husband, Polly said. Isn't he a stunning man? I suppose he makes women curl up and purr. Not me, she said. You're more my type, Harry, and you're very handsome too, you know. The Wellmans lived above their store. At the door, we kissed goodnight. Now that we were in the shadow of her home, it was less dangerous. But it was ardent, and I broke it up and asked her a question. What's Dr. Doan supposed to feed his wives? His wives, she said. He only has one, of course. She's his second wife. What do you mean, feed them? I have no idea what you mean. Let's try it this way. What does he feed them to? Polly turned a little so that her shoulder was against my chest. I couldn't see anything of her except her hair. Oh, so you heard the story, she said. It's about his first wife. Did I get the story right? Did he feed her to something? She pulled the door open. It's only gossip. A shadowy smile crossed her lips. You see, he keeps very vicious dogs, she said almost gaily. Good night, Harry. Well, guys, that is it for this chapter of House of Flesh. I thought that was pretty saucy for the 50s, and I enjoyed reading that. I can't wait to see what happens because, you know, the doctor has multiple wives. He's obviously possibly fed them to his vicious dogs. And then you have the girl and all that town gossip. And something more might happen if they're going back to the bungalow. So I want to know what happens next. This is definitely very saucy. Let me see what some of you guys are saying in the chat. I know some people are probably still coming in. Tightly put together. Now that's a compliment. Hi, Annette Fain. Welcome to the chat. I'm so glad you are here. Yep, Vinny, I had that exact same thought. Stroking. Doesn't sound very good. Yeah, it's a poor choice of words. It really is. I think I'm too young to listen to this, Catherine says. This is very, very saucy. It is. It is. Uh, there is a window behind me. Hi, Christine at Side Street Market. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back. Let's see what else is in the chat. My daughter asked, Mom, what are you listening to? Hi, Kara. I'm so glad you are joining us. Jeannie, well, oh, you're in Denver. Oh, that's nice, Debbie. That's wonderful. Feed them. I hope. Oh, Benny, yeah, I'm betting that that doctor killed his wives by feeding. My bet is that he fed them to the vicious dogs, and that's why those bones were in the woods from last chapter. So we have to see more about this. I'm very, very curious. Hi, Nancy. How are you doing? Prayers for you and all the stuff going on with your heater. And I hope you found out some good news today. I've been thinking about you. Oh, I know, Linda, but listen, I will be back next week with chapter 4 because there's more. Let's see, there's how many chapters are in this? There's 26 chapters in this book. Now, all the chapters are relatively short, so this is fun. So you guys won't have to wait too long in between to hear what's next in the book, which is exciting. Dogs, tigers, something, right? Ate those people. Hi, Karen Radford. Welcome to the chat. Yes, it's very, very dramatic. It is, and it's saucy at the same time, and I like that. So this book has a lot to offer, and it certainly got me sucked in. I want to know what's happening next. And after this, I have a few more fun gold medal books. So don't worry, when this is over, there will be another one coming that's going to be very fun. Whoa, I need to listen to the other 2 chapters. Oh, Kim, I don't know, but I'm guessing there's something wrong with the doctor. The doctor in this book, there's been speculations that he might have poisoned his wives or killed them. And in the last chapter, the guy, the main character, is a basketball player, and he's, out of the city in this small town, resting up and getting rejuvenated for the next season. And he's walking through the woods, and he finds these bones. Well, his dog finds the bones, so you can go back and catch that. And last chapter was relatively small and short. Got a call asking COVID protocol questions, but I'm waiting on a list with the contractor. Oh, Nancy, at least there's progress. That is good, but prayers for you. We will need the next chapter to get over your jello. Yes, the Jello is going to be quite a doozy on Wednesday, but it's going to be fun. So if you want to watch me eat some Jello from the 50s, I'll be doing that live on air at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. And then Wednesday morning, you can watch me live cook the Jello. So I'll be cooking the Jello with you guys. And this one has kidney beans and onions and French dressing. And yeah, it doesn't sound very good. Benny, that was a quickie chapter. That's what I'm gonna start calling him, Benny. I think it's perfect for this saucy book reading. Hi, Victoria H. I'm so glad you're joining us tonight. That is awesome. Welcome, welcome. 26 chapters. We are going to have to wait a while. Well, some of the chapters are only 2 pages long. A few of them are quite short. So I think we'll be moving through this book a lot quicker than I thought, because with Katie and her camera, some of those chapters were like 10 or 12 pages, so those were much longer than this book. You're a brave soul for eating that Jello. Yes, Vinny, I am. I feel like the guinea pig of our vintage community, but I say that it's for the good of the community because somebody has to try this and report back. So I will be the person that is reporting back to you all to let you guys know what I think of it. Now, I'm not going to knock it till I try it, but I'm just saying it doesn't sound very good. I've got a picture of it I can probably show you guys. It doesn't look great. So, yeah, there it is. cottage cheese and kidney bean salad. And you know the worst part about this is it has cucumbers. Now, if you know me, I don't care for cucumbers. I love pickles, but I don't like cucumbers. And they're all in it. So that's going to be really fun to watch me eat that. Katie, have you ever read Peyton Place? Yes, I have, Teofane. And yes, that's very, very trashy. But I like that. It's a good story. Let's see. Oh, Daniel's saying, I'll knock it for you. No, I have not tried Aspect. I have not, but I want to try Aspect sometime and give that a go. That's going to be next, along with, I think, Ring Around the Tuna. Now, if you've never seen Ring Around the Tuna, it's Jello with tuna fish. Yes, that is horribly awful, but people ate that stuff back in the day, which is just wild. Animal House. Vinny, I love that movie. Anytime you see pickles, that's hilarious. Ah, Maria, hello, hello. Welcome to the chat. I'm so glad you are joining us. Yes, Animal House is one of my favorite movies. Such a classic. Very, very good. In fact, one night, it was even featured on Jeopardy. It was one of the clues for Jeopardy, and the person didn't get it. And I couldn't believe they didn't get it because it's such a cult classic. Well, I guess they didn't have many options, but also I think that people reused everything they had. So you didn't throw much away and you didn't waste food. You know, there's that whole not wasting food attitude. So probably people stuck it into Jello. You know, they thought, well, what can we do that's easy? What can we do that's simple? And basically, Jello recipes are just dumping things into a mix and setting it and forgetting it. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. But what I'll never forget is my mom telling me that when she was growing up, there was a kid in her school. They had a whole campaign about finishing your meals, right? And eating them and not wasting anything. And there was a kid in the cafeteria one time when he was told that he didn't finish his meal that stood up and said, well, what do you want me to do? Put it in an envelope and mail it to Africa? I'll never forget her telling me that. And it's kind of true. I mean, you know, you can't send it overseas necessarily. Freddie, I'm reading your comment. I'm dying laughing. Oh, Vinny. I love that you keep the chats lively. We could all use that right now. Beth was saying, but meat and fruit jello? Yes, I know. See, now the fruit jello is fine by itself. The jello that's just fruit, you know, that's good. Jello by itself is good, especially with whipped cream on top, but not with meat or Miracle Whip or tuna. Yeah, no, thank you. Katie, don't forget the hot water or when you try to unmold the jello. Yes, Catherine, that's very true. So I am excited to do that technique. I learned from Catherine about just dunking it in hot water for a few minutes and then lifting it back up because that will help unmold it. Because when you dump it over, you know, you have trouble unmolding it. The jello kind of sticks to the mold. So that's going to really help, Catherine. And I'm glad that I heard that. Oh, Lauren, that's funny. Penny. It's true. He didn't eat the gross spinach blob in the plastic tray. That spinach is awful. Spinach in a can is just awful. I'm sure you would have, Penny. You and me both. We would have been the kids in the back that was snarkily laughing. Going, you know, those are situations where you're not supposed to laugh, but something's very funny and you're trying your hardest not to laugh. I feel like Vinny and I would be those two in the back. Oh, Pam. Well, now that makes sense. So I did get a Jello mold specifically for this occasion. I wanted to get a 50s mold, but I ended up getting a modern mold. You can buy them still from Amazon, made by Tupperware. So I got one in a mint color, and I'm going to try that and see if it helps. It's supposed to be like this nonstick mold. I don't know. The last mold I did, it came out, but you didn't see the pretty design. So we'll try that, and I'll definitely try the dunking Yes, for only a few seconds. It's very quick. And if you have not seen Catherine's video yet at the Eclectic Thrifter, go watch that because it's really fun. And she put them in little parfaits. Tia Fane saying, I remember how my grandmother would overcook vegetables until they were mush. Oh no, Tia Fane, that's awful. Have you ever had asparagus that's cooked until it's literally just mush? I have had that before and it is awful. If you roast asparagus too long, it's done for. Hi, Angela. Thanks for joining the chat. And Angela Marksberry does the calendar. So if you want to check out all the events happening this week, there's a lot. You can go watch the calendar on Instagram, and I'm sure she can email that to you. She's also got a YouTube channel as well, so go check that out. We laughed at my mom's funeral because she wanted us to play a trick on the mourners and make them think they were late to the funeral. Oh no, Catherine, that's kind of funny. But also, I'm very sorry that you lost your mom. Tia Fanu, yes, that's just not good. Vinny, I know you're not a big fan of certain vegetables, but I will say, have you ever had asparagus with cheese on it? It's really pretty good. It makes it good, but if it's mushy, it's not so good. My mom was notorious for being late. Oh, Catherine, I see. That makes sense. Does it say what color Jello to use? So the interesting thing about this recipe is that it actually uses unflavored gelatin. Now, I didn't think that they made that anymore, but I was able to find Knox unflavored gelatin. So we're in luck. So we have the unflavored gelatin. And let me tell you what's in this recipe. So it has 1/2 cups cottage cheese, 1 envelope of Knox unflavored gelatin, 1 cup milk, 2/3 cup French dressing, ew, 1 tablespoon minced onion, which this time I will get the right amount of minced onion, dash of pepper, a whole can of kidney beans, and shredded cabbage. Ew. And then, of course, the cucumber, which is just, I'm sorry, that's just gross. That's nasty. Nancy's saying, my granny used to put salt in the water for canned vegetables. It used to be on the instructions. Wow. Well, I have an advertisement, speaking of salt, for Morton salt, and it actually says that you put salt in your coffee and it takes the bitterness out. Well, I talked to Christy Garza at Tippy Link's Vintage the other day, and she said that she was intrigued by my advertisement in my kitchen from the 30s. And guess what she did? She put salt in the bad coffee that she had at work, and it worked. It took the bitterness out. So, guys, if you're at home and you have coffee that's bad, or you're somewhere and you don't care for the coffee, try putting a tiny bit of salt in it. Now, I haven't tried this yet, but I'm curious to see if that helps. Asparagus is the only vegetable that you can eat with your fingers as long as it's not served with a sauce. Oh, really? That was on the BBC channel? That's wild, Jeannie. I did not know that because I've always cut it up, but I do love asparagus and hollandaise sauce. Now, if you know me, I love, love, love hollandaise sauce. Oh, Nate Biscuit is here. Hello, Nate. Thanks for joining us all the way from New Zealand. I love we have so many different people from all around the world in our chats. It's really, really fun. I would die right there live on YouTube eating that, Daniel says. Yes, it does sound very, very awful. Let's see. She'll probably give it to her elderly. I will, Vinny. I will go take it over, and because you know what? My elderly neighbor loves the Jello recipes, and this is no joke. Like, people honestly felt so bad for her last time. I said I was going to give her the recipe. I left it outside her door. We didn't see each other. It was totally safe. I just dropped it off and drove off. But she loved it. She called me and said, "Oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've eaten all week." She loved it. So she grew up eating all of these Jello things, and she really likes them. So probably after I make this, because I don't want to waste the rest of it, I'll just go put it on a plate and take it over there, and she'll love it. I promise you she'll love it. Salad, salted coffee, the next flavor from Dunkin' Donuts. Well, I guess it's kind of like the salted caramel mochas or whatever that they have. That's true. Maybe there is a flavor. Let's see. Did you watch the video of her eating that first Jello concoction? I died laughing. Yes, well, somebody was kind enough. I hope someone will do it this time. Let me see if I can find it. But somebody was kind enough to take pictures of me actually eating the Jello. So, yep, here we are. Here's the before of me eating the Jello, and then here's me after. I certainly did not care for the last Jello recipe. That Miracle Whip was awful. It was so awful. I can't believe that people actually ate these. You know, imagine getting your kid to sit down at the table and eat this. I mean, oh, I can't imagine. Yeah, see, now I don't mind asparagus. I love asparagus. It's very good. Oh, it doesn't love you back. Yeah, some people struggle with the whole asparagus thing. Oh, wonderful sauce. Yes, Julia Child's recipe is the one that I make. Her hollandaise sauce recipe reigns supreme. But what I do with hollandaise sauce that's different is a lot of people do the double boiler method, which is good, but it can be tricky because you can scramble your eggs. But I actually make that hollandaise sauce in a blender. And if you use a blender and you slowly pour the butter in, the natural whiz of the blender heats it up slowly and it doesn't scramble the eggs. So it's a really good method and you can look it up online. It works, it like comes out perfect every time. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Angela. That's very sweet. Let's see. I'll never forget how Katie actually flinched when she started tasting that Jello recipe. It was so fun. People loved it. Oh, yes, Victoria. That's right. Victoria sent me the screenshots. Thank you, Victoria. Yes, I love them. They are hilarious, and I will keep those forever. Oh, I just don't care for Miracle Whip. Now, I know some people grew up with it and they like it, but Miracle Whip is not mayonnaise. It's actually a salad dressing. So I don't care for it. I like Duke's. Duke's is what's in my refrigerator. Oh, TFN, you can't find Kerrygold butter here? Oh, no. I guess they don't have it in Canada. I wonder if you could order it online, although I don't know how they would ship you butter. I guess, you know, it'd have to come on dry ice or something. But I wish you could find it because it really is the best butter in the world. I that's one brand item that I'm very loyal to. Like milk, I just buy regular brand for cereal, you know, Publix brand, store brand, whatever. But with Kerrygold, I will always buy Kerrygold because it's the best butter in the world. Yes, my mom's right. I did used to eat spinach casserole. My grandmother made the best spinach casserole in the world. And it's spinach with Velveeta cheese. So basically you don't even taste the spinach. It's just a basic cheese, really good casserole. And I still make it. It's delicious. And she used to come down and make it, you know, when she'd visit. They'd visit a couple of times a year from Missouri, and she would make a big batch of it and then freeze it so that we would have it when she wasn't there. Well, I used to eat it for breakfast because, yes, I really did love it that much. And I still make it, and I made it not too long ago for my group of friends when I had one of my dinner parties, and they loved it. They all wanted the recipe. I grew up with Miracle Whip and cannot change to mayo. Well, you know, if you grew up with it, I totally understand how that's something that you're loyal to. And we used to have in the school cafeteria, I can still see those ginormous tubs of Miracle Whip. I mean, they were huge. The cafeteria lunch ladies would put on sandwiches and stuff. It's just so gross to me. I'm sorry if anyone likes Miracle Whip. I do not mean to offend you. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. So lots of stuff happening this evening, guys. I want to make mention of a few things before I head off here because it's 7:14 and I want everyone to get a chance to go visit all these events. Now, there's a lot happening on YouTube tonight, so I'm going to try to be maybe on some split screens, do some different things because there's just so much happening. But tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, Tim at Over the Years and his wife Josie and his mom, Ma Dukes, are having a live sale at 8 o'clock Eastern here on YouTube. George the Antique Nomad is having his premiere at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern as well, which is fantastic. Always need our education from Uncle Professor George. And then, of course, at 8 o'clock p.m., the Vintage Rescue Squad is back with Misty from Thrifter, Junker, Vintage Hunter, the one and only Michael Todd from the Cult of Vintage. Dee from Thrill to Thrift will be on this week, as well as Thrift You Girls. So 2 special guests, and next week there will be some fun guests as well, but we don't know who they are yet. So that's exciting. Lots of things to watch. And Daniel's saying, Katie, I love you, but please don't invite me over for supper. Daniel, I will not. I promise if I do, it won't be Miracle Whip or anything gross. So lots of fun things tonight. I will see you guys over at the different events. I hope you guys find something cool to watch, whether you do split screens or switch around, whatever you do. Lots of fun events. It's hard when the schedule gets full. It's impossible for overlapping not to happen because there's just simply not enough hours in the day. So we all try not to run into each other, but it's inevitably going to happen. So, you know, the good thing is that if it's a chat or something like that, you can always go back and watch it later and then catch the live sales while it's live. So that's always good. So lots of love to you guys today. I hope you enjoyed Chapter 2 of House of Flesh. I'll be back this Wednesday with my Jello tasting at 10 a.m. Eastern for a live cook with me, and then 9:30 p.m. Eastern for a fun taste test, as well as some friend mail I'll be opening. And then, of course, on Thursday, I'll be with Debbie at our Vagabond Travels at 5 p.m. Eastern for a live sale, and probably with Vintage Uprising Texas Tammy on Wednesday at 6:30. So lots happening for me this week, and I will see you guys all in a future video. And I hope, as always, you will stay in, stay safe, and bend YouTube. Bye-bye now.